F1 expert picks at 2 most likely drivers to beat Lewis Hamilton to title. Exclusive has won 2 world championships in a row and 4 of the last 5, so it will be no easy task to finish above the Mercedes man over 21 races. Although Mercedes topped the timesheet for both the first and second practice sessions on Friday, Ferrari's car remains in with a shout of a championship-winning season. James Allen, a former commentator for BBC and ITV, has made his prediction on who could win more points than Hamilton this season, with Ferrari's car playing a big part. Hamilton will win races, Sebastian Vettel should win the most races over the year, I think Charles Leclerc will win races, it's a bit early to say whether the Red Bull will with a Honda engine in the back, Allen exclusively told Express Sport. The signs were quite encouraging in testing, and there will be certain tracks where the car will be competitive, like Monaco and Singapore, and maybe 1 or 2 other races. Singapore has been a track where Mercedes have struggled and Ferrari have been very quick. You always get a couple of outlying races. Sometimes Canada can be a bit strange, Australia and Brazil can be too in terms of the outcomes. Although Allen is predicting Vettel and Leclerc to finish in the top 3, he has picked a driver who has an outside hope shocking the trio. He said, "If I had to pick a winner that wasn't driving a Mercedes or a Ferrari, the only person you could look at would be Verstappen, possibly, but I think it's going to be a bit of a 2-horse race this year. I think there was enough signs last year from Ferrari that the technical restructuring under Mattia Binotto, who has now become the team principal over the winter, has helped put them on a really good path. And if there is a team that are most likely to challenge Mercedes to take the championship, I think this is probably going to be it." All the signs from testing suggest that the Ferrari is a really good car. I don't think Mercedes have got a power advantage anymore, and I think that the Ferrari is a car that will be very adaptable to all kinds of circuits. Ferrari have backed Vettel to be their #1 driver this season ahead of Leclerc, but Allen thinks that the German faces a tricky battle keeping it that way. He said, "The question mark then is on Sebastian Vettel. He had a poor year last year and I think he was very up and down. When he was up he was fantastic, but he made a lot of mistakes. It would be understandable for Ferrari to be questioning of him and maybe even slightly doubting of him. It's a bit like Jurgen Klopp said, he needs to turn the doubters into believers. I think internally at Ferrari that's Vettel's mission really. The first 4 or 5 races of the season he needs to settle everyone down, win some races, and get control of the championship and not make mistakes." James Allen spoke to Express Sport in his role as president of Motorsport Network, the destination for millions of cars and racing fans. Next news: Fernando Alonso, former F1 champion, will return on one condition, expert exclusive. Fernando Alonso topped the table in both 2005 and 2006, and many expected the Spaniard to win more titles in the following seasons. However, Alonso failed to continue his domination of the field and eventually left at the end of the 2018 campaign to pursue other racing avenues. The 37-year-old has taken part in the FIA World Endurance Championship and the Indianapolis 500, but a return to F1 has never been ruled out. James Allen, a former commentator for BBC and ITV, has given his take on Alonso's possible return. "If he had a car that he could compete with, then I could see it," Allen exclusively told Express Sport. "He will still be able to compete. If you stuck him in a Mercedes or Ferrari now, he could do well in the championship." Alonso is a great driver and he has different qualities to Hamilton. He is not as fast as Lewis, but he is relentless over race distance, unbelievable, competitive and consistent. I can see him coming back if he was offered a chance in a competitive car, but I think it's probably unlikely. Ahead of the season opening race in Melbourne, Alonso's former team Ferrari have received praise for their new car. Sebastian Vettel will be fronting their title challenge for a fifth consecutive season, and the German star has hit out at Mercedes. I think Mercedes, looked really quick, Vettel said. I don't know if it was just us struggling a bit, but as a matter of fact they were in a league of their own. What was all that buzz about with them being out of shape and so on? I didn't understand that, to be honest. So it was a bit of a surprise. Maybe everyone else was struggling and then we can turn it around, but they looked very strong and much stronger than they claimed before the weekend. The 2019 season gets underway in Melbourne on Sunday. Vettel is hunting his fifth world title this year, while Hamilton is hoping to add championship no. 6. James Allen spoke to Express Sport in his role as president of the destination for millions of cars and racing fans. Next news: Daniel Ricciardo and Max Verstappen beef, one reason for Renault move. That is according to F1 expert Tony Jardine, who believes a beef concerning being paid far less than Max Verstappen was only one of the reasons the move happened. Turned heads in the world of motorsport last August by announcing he would be leaving Red Bull for Renault. And today he will race with the French manufacturers for the first time as his home Australian Grand Prix takes place in Melbourne. Plenty of pundits and F1 enthusiasts alike are expecting Renault to be well off the pace frontrunners Mercedes, Ferrari and Red Bull will set at the Albert Park circuit. Jardine, though, has offered an insight into why Ricciardo opted to make what many have regarded as a step backwards. And the former McLaren assistant manager says the fact was the main man at Red Bull was not as crucial as the Aussie made his choice as has been suggested. He's thought long and hard, Jardine exclusively told Express Sport, when asked why Ricciardo left Red Bull for Renault. He loves the Red Bull family. He's had his 7 wins. Monte Carlo, in 2018, was absolutely the highlight after what happened in the previous year when they messed up the pit stop. Arguably the greatest overtaker in Formula One, currently. But he just, internally, will be seeing Max Verstappen getting stronger and stronger and stronger, not necessarily getting the better treatment, but he knows that he's a real talent. He knows that if he stayed on there, he's going to take second billing, and it's been incredibly hard for him. He had to shut everything off, and on a 9-hour flight to the States, flying over the LA, he shut everything off and he thought about it and he made his decision. His decision was based on the fact that, although all the other doors had closed on him including Ferrari, that he would have the Renault team in the promise of all the resources. They've all been talking to him, Alain Prost and all these guys, saying, the engine's going to be improved, the transmission, the aerodynamics. He's seen all of their plans and he's bought into it with a team built around him for a change, and he's taken the drive. He's getting paid a lot more money, because one of his big beefs at Red Bull is that he found out Verstappen was being paid way more than him. Jardine worked alongside 4-time champion and current Renault special advisor Alain Prost during his stint with McLaren in the 1980s. Despite enjoying a positive relationship with the Prost, Jardine says the Frenchman keeps his cards close to his chest with regards to Renault. No, even with me, Jardine said, when asked if Prost has revealed any more to him about Renault's plans going forward. I can call him, I've got his private number to his study, and we can discuss the old days. But when we get to the new days and what's going on, I'll get the general view on it. The general stuff that you get is that they had to have such a talent as Daniel for the car. For them, everything he's learned at Red Bull and everything he brings from Red Bull is just vitally important for the next stage of their development. They love Nico Hülkenberg, they think he's a really great racer, but he does have his flaws and he's been around a long time and never had a podium. He just had that one pole with Williams down in Brazil on time. So they're pinning their hopes on Daniel, technically and of course to deliver on the track in terms of points. They want to start getting some serious podiums, and then, for 2020, they're looking to get some wins. Next news: Sebastian Vettel, why Ferrari F1 star will be scared by Charles Leclerc. That is the opinion of F1 expert Tony Jardine, who believes Vettel could be in for a repeat of his final season at Red Bull. Vettel will take to Melbourne's Albert Park circuit on Sunday morning with high hopes of starting the new season with a third Australian Grand Prix victory on the spin. But he will be aware he has a serious fight on his hands as he looks to maintain a title push and dethrone reigning champion Lewis Hamilton. The Mercedes driver is the biggest obstacle to his chances of reclaiming the World Drivers' Championship he last secured in 2013. Although Jardine believes the German will not be taking the challenge posed by his own Ferrari teammate Leclerc lightly. Showed in pre-season testing in Barcelona that Ferrari's decision to snap him up from Sauber was a wise move. And he will be desperate to deliver on the promise which has seen him tip to scrap it out at the front of the grid from the off this year. Jardine, who worked with Goodyear, Brabham, McLaren and Lotus during his own career reckons Leclerc will already have given Vettel a headache. And he's backing the 21-year-old to outperform the man he'll share a garage with over the course of the coming 8 months. Don't get me wrong, where I put Leclerc on this, I think Leclerc is going to show up. Vettel, Jardine exclusively told Express Sport. You can tell from what I'm saying, I've never been a massive Vettel fan. I like him, he's a great driver. But he won those 4 titles in an Adrian Newey designed Red Bull which had the best blown diffuser, with the underwings at the back that used to use the exhaust gases to get more downforce. He was an expert in driving those cars and he had the best car on the grid. But in 2014, his last season at Red Bull, in came Daniel Ricciardo, and Ricciardo finished ahead of him on points and beat him in many races. He's vulnerable and he is going to be watching Leclerc like a hawk. He's gonna be making sure that he has the right treatment and Leclerc is a threat. Ferrari need to have that intra-team challenge of the young gun pushing the old master. So we're going to be watching very, very closely with Leclerc. I'm sure he could win a couple next season and possibly get more points and finish higher than Vettel in 2019. The Australian Grand Prix is scheduled to start at 5:10 am, GMT, on Sunday morning. Thank you for watching the video. Be sure to share and subscribe to your channel to get the latest sports news around the world. Wished health and success. Goodbye.